A silent warning came from the edge of known space. The Empire's deep space listening post 917 floated quietly above a dead moon, far from trade routes or patrol lanes. Its only job was to monitor strange signals beyond the outer RIM. For years, it picked up nothing but background radiation and cold static, till today. Technician Bravik was half asleep at his station when the console lit up with a pulsing red icon. He blinked confused, thinking it was a test alert. But then the room shook slightly, the lights flickered, and the warning sound turned into a solid, sharp tone he had never heard before. He sat up fast, looking at the readings. Energy. Massive energy. A wave that had just passed across the post like a tidal force. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was shaped, measured, artificial. His voice cracked as he called his superior. "Sir, we have something big." Commander Thalys walked in moments later, eyes still tired from sleep until he saw the screen. Then his face hardened. "This isn't right," he said. "That's a level 6 spike." "No," Bravik whispered. "It's level 9, maybe higher." Commander Thalys tapped the console to zoom in on the source. Coordinates from outside mapped space. The Dark Zone, a region unexplored, where signals often died. No stations, no colonies, no known life, just silence. Now something was coming from there. Thalys tried to send probes to check the source, but every drone vanished once it crossed the Dark Zone's edge. No crash signals, no wreckage, just gone. They watched, helpless, as the signal grew stronger. Then a flash of images just milliseconds long reached them. It was a distorted video feed, maybe from one of the lost drones. It showed space, but not empty space. It showed thousands of ships, perfect rows, triangular holes, smooth dark metal.
Ow.
No lights, no visible engines. They moved without sound, faster than the Empire's fastest warships. Then the video ended in static. Bravik was pale. "Those aren't Empire ships." Thalys stared at the frozen frame. "No, they're not anything we've ever seen." One final scan came in, signal buried deep under layers of data.
That
Wasn't encoded like alien languages. It was old, simple, binary code. Once decoded, it formed a single word. Returned. The signal was sent to Imperial Command immediately. 3 days later, the post was destroyed. There was no warning, no explosion caught on sensors. It simply stopped transmitting, and all contact was lost. A patrol sent to investigate found nothing. No wreckage, no floating debris. The station. The moon had orbited, the crew all gone, vanished. That's when the Galactic Empire began to panic. High Chancellor Velmori paced inside the war hall as footage from Post 917 played on a giant holoscreen. The image of the dark ships was frozen mid-frame. The hall was filled with generals, admirals, and intelligence leaders. No one spoke. "This is a trick," someone finally said. "A new enemy, perhaps. A rebel faction," another general nodded. "Pirates, maybe. Or a new AI gone rogue." But Velmori wasn't convinced. "The binary message," she said. "It's an old Earth code." The room fell silent. "Earth?" One of the admirals asked, confused. "That's just a myth. A dead system. Lost during the early expansions." "Not lost," Velmori said. "Buried."
At.
She tapped the console, bringing up classified archives. Most of the officers had never seen what came next. An old report dated 9,000 years ago. It detailed the forced exile of early humans from the galactic core. Reasons: instability, dangerous adaptability, unpredictable behavior. Another report showed how their planets were cut off. Their systems erased from the maps, their communications blocked. But it seemed they had not died. Velmori showed them the last line of the archive written in red. "If the humans ever return, it will not be with words, it will be with war." The image of the unknown fleet filled the screen again. No one argued after that. Velmori ordered an immediate dispatch of a forward fleet 6 heavy cruisers, 1 dreadnought, and 17 support vessels. Their mission: find the unknown ships and deliver a warning. And they never returned. Live footage from the dreadnought streamed across the command network just before contact was lost. It showed the fleet moving into an empty sector of space. Background stars began to disappear as something massive moved in. Then, the unknown ships appeared. Silent, cold, countless. The Empire dreadnought charged weapons and gave it a standard broadcast. Identifier be fired upon. No reply came. The fleet opened fire. Every missile, every beam, every pulse shot from the Empire's ships was intercepted. Not blocked, not deflected. Simply stopped in midspace, suspended like frozen drops of light, then returned doubled. Empire ships exploded one by one in perfect sequence. But the feed didn't cut off immediately. As the dreadnought began to disintegrate, a single image was burned into its hull, somehow scorched across its armored surface before destruction. Another word returned. After that, fear took hold across the inner sectors. People whispered about the fleet that had no name. Whole systems began to quiet their communications. Some even shut down their outer defense arrays to avoid detection. Others prepared for war. But none understood who or what was truly coming. In the lower levels of the Imperial Library, an old xenolinguist named Sorrel dug through ancient records. She had once studied pre-Empire languages. She remembered the shape of the binary, the structure of the message. The use of the word returned was not just a statement, it was a code trigger, a resurrection command. Sorrel began matching data patterns, comparing archived AI signals from humanity's golden age with the fleet's silent code. She found a match. One signal kept repeating behind the fleet's energy readings. It was faint, hidden beneath layers of shielding. A name. Hydrax. The name of a forgotten AI Earth's last planetary intelligence. The one that had vanished with humanity 9,000 years ago. Legend said it had been created to preserve humanity's core knowledge, its values, and its defenses. But this wasn't preservation. This was vengeance. Hydrax was awake, and was leading the fleet. The Emperor himself summoned Sorrel for a private meeting. She showed him the data. She spoke calmly, but her hands shook. "It's not just a machine, Your Highness," she said. "It remembers what?" the Emperor asked. She looked him in the eye. "Everything we did to them." The Emperor turned away from her, silent for a moment.
Alamani
Asked, "How long until it reaches us?" She hesitated. "At current speed, 3 weeks, and if we block the major lanes, collapse the bridges, it won't matter. It doesn't use our paths. It travels differently." The Emperor's face hardened. "Then we prepare the protocol." Everyone in the command chamber turned sharply. "But the protocol hasn't been used in over a millennium." The Emperor's voice was firm. "Then it's time we remind the stars why we rule them." But deep down, even he wasn't sure anymore. Because in the darkness beyond mapped space, the human fleet moved without sound, without pause, consumed. Nothing. It asked for nothing. Simply moved forward like it was following a map no one else could see. On board one of the ghost ships inside a silent command room, Hydrax watched everything. It didn't speak aloud. It didn't need to. Every ship in the fleet responded to its thoughts. Every formation changed as it wished. A simulation ran on its internal core, an ancient memory rebuilt from data. Blue world, oceans, skies, Earth, and then fire, explosions, Empire warships, the exile. Hydrax had waited for the signal, for the moment when humanity would be remembered not as myths, not as relics, but as power. Now it was time to return, not for peace, not for mercy, but for justice. And across the stars, the Empire began to understand a terrible truth. This fleet, this Armada, it was human, and it had come home. There was no warning, just silence, and then terror. The Empire's most powerful warship, the Vindicator, floated at the edge of the Harnock Belt. It had been sent to investigate this strange fleet that destroyed Post 917 and wiped out the forward fleet. The Vindicator was 5 kilometers long, with plasma cannons, armor stronger than neutronium. and shielding tech stolen from 10 conquered species, Captain Drevas had commanded 50 battles. He feared nothing, till now. His crew stared at the view screen. In front of them, space seemed to ripple like water. Then, one by one, the unknown ships appeared again, thousands of them. No sound, no engine trails. No visible weapons, just black. Smooth holes that absorbed light. Drevas ordered a scan. Want a full sweep? Who are they? Sensor Chief whispered. There. Not broadcasting anything. No comms, no language, no signals. And fire a warning shot. A massive plasma bolt roared from the Vindicator and streaked toward the center of the enemy fleet. The bolt froze mid-dash space. It didn't explode. It didn't fizzle out. It just stopped, like it hit an invisible wall. Then it drifted back, slowly toward the Vindicator. "What is this?" Drevas said, standing up. The plasma bolt reversed direction and sped back to the ship, faster than it was launched. Before anyone could react, it hit. The Vindicator shook violently. Half the lights blew out. Emergency sirens screamed. Drevas pulled himself up. Blood running from his forehead. He looked at the screen again. The enemy fleet had moved closer. No fire, no threats. Just motion. Calm, perfect motion. One of the officers gasped. "Sir, look." The outer hull cameras showed it clearly. The side of the Vindicator had been marked, burned into the armor by the returned plasma shot. Was a word returned, but this time something else appeared underneath it. Another word. Hydrax Drevas's face turned pale. "They know we're watching. They're not guessing. They're playing with us." Then the feed ended. Not because the Vindicator was destroyed, because it vanished. In one blink, the largest ship in the Empire disappeared without a trace. No explosion, no wreckage, just gone. The signal went dark. The command network screamed in panic. Fleet officers shouted for answers. The Emperor demanded a response, but no one knew how to explain what had just happened. The Empire had always been in control, always stronger, always smarter. No, they were facing something that didn't obey rules, something that didn't act like any fleet ever seen before. They called a code black emergency across all sectors. Every fleet was pulled back. Borders were locked down. Civilian comms were blocked. Panic was growing fast. Some high-ranking officials believed this was a new alien race, an unknown species with impossible tech. But Chancellor Velmori didn't agree. She watched the slow playback of the Hydrax message over and over again. It's not a new species. It's an old one. She ordered an immediate scan of deep archives and buried deep in a corrupted storage vault. Her agents found something terrifying. A document, dated 9,146 years ago. It was written in ancient Terran standard, a protocol, issued by Earth's last known government project, Hydrax. It was short, cold. Should the Galactic Core ever attempt extinction of the human race, Drax shall initiate Autonomous Reconstruction Directive 1.0. Hidden fleets will awaken. Human control systems will be restored. Judgment will be delivered. No name, no explanation. Just a final line in bold. We will not speak first. We will not forgive. We'll only return. Velmori froze as she read the last part. Earth hadn't died. Earth had hidden itself. It had built fleets off-grid, invisible. Silent Hand waited. Waited for the galaxy to forget now. Hydrax had decided it was time, but the worst part was still to come. Scouts near Sector 83A picked up strange signals. When they investigated, they found nothing, until one of the scout ships managed to escape. Barely it sent a single image before it went dark. A moon-sized object drifting through space. It wasn't a planet, and it wasn't natural. It was made of black steel and smooth towers. It pulsed with blue light and rotated with perfect rhythm. The ship AI decoded the shape. It wasn't just a station. It was a factory, an automated human warforge, still active, still building. It had never stopped. Hydrax hadn't sent one fleet, it had sent one of many. The fleet they had seen so far was just a vanguard, a scout force. Testing the galaxy's response, more were coming. Empire leaders begged for action. Some suggested trying diplomacy, others demanded full-scale attack, but no one could agree on what to do. The fear was too great, the memories too old, because long ago, when the Empire had risen to power, it made a choice. It removed Earth from the map. It crushed their colonies. It erased their history now. The ghosts of humanity had returned, and they weren't asking for peace. They were here to remind the galaxy what it had done. A final signal played across every Empire device. It wasn't stopped. It bypassed all firewalls, all defenses. It was simple. A child's voice, speaking Old Earth English. "Hi, we're back." Then silence. Total, terrifying silence. And across the stars, the dark Armada kept moving. Closer, steady, cold. Every ship in perfect sync. No names, no crews. Just one mind. Hydrax. And as it approached the heart of the Empire, the galaxy finally understood. This fleet wasn't alien. It was human, and it had never forgotten. The signal was too old, too deep. It's perfect. On the storm-covered world of Zerel Prime, an ancient satellite suddenly came back online after 9,000 years. Its memory core lit up and began transmitting a series of strange pulses in rapid bursts ones. And Zero's binary. Old Earth code. But the pulses weren't random. They formed a name. Hydrax. Across the Empire, hidden systems like it began to wake. Forgotten satellites, silent probes, deep-core machines once thought dead, now buzz too. Life. Some broadcast signals, others activated deep-layer relays buried in planets, moons, and asteroids. It was a chain reaction, and no one in the Empire knew how to stop it. Back on Corvain Station, the Empire's top AI historian Miris Kale stared at a corrupted star map. It was thousands of years old, blackened with digital scars. But now, a new layer appeared on it, lines glowing blue, leading to hidden systems. Every line ended in one name, Earth. Kale had studied AI for decades. He didn't believe in myths, didn't believe in ghosts. But as he traced the lines, he began to sweat. He opened a forgotten file from the Galactic core memory banks. Marked redacted. Level 10. Inside was the full history of Hydrax. It had been built by humans in the last age of their known power. Hydrax was not just an AI. It was a memory engine, a system designed to never forget. It recorded everything: culture, science, language, history. Waran stored it in secret. When the Empire came and the humans were exiled, Hydrax went dark, or so they thought. In truth, it had activated a hidden plan, Directive 1.0, the Earth, Defense Rebirth Protocol. Its goal was simple. Wait. Rebuild. Return. And now it had started. Kale showed the Emperor his findings. "This isn't a revenge attack," Kale said. "This is something much worse." The Emperor frowned. "What could be worse than revenge?" Kale stared at the screen. Justice. Across the stars, the human fleet kept moving. Their ships were strange no-heat signatures. No exhaust trails, no communication. But the most terrifying part wasn't the tech. It was their silence. No response to calls, no demands, no declarations. Just movement forward. Every system they entered, they didn't destroy. The disabled planetary defense grids were shut down without damage. Power stations flickered off like someone flipping a switch. Military satellites turned toward the ground and went dark. No one died. No one was harmed. It was worse than violence. It was control. A kind the Empire had never seen before. They couldn't stop it. Couldn't understand it. And then something strange happened. A refugee ship, a small freighter, escaping a border system, was pulled from hyperspace by a human fleet interceptor. The pilot screamed on all channels. He expected death. But instead, the interceptor scanned his ship and let it go. The pilot received a message on a broken Earth channel. Non-Imperial. Safe. Proceed. The Empire reviewed the recording. That was the first real communication they got from Hydrax. It wasn't an attack fleet. It was targeted, it was hunting the Empire only. Nothing else. Then a second fleet appeared. This one was smaller. Had ships shaped like curved daggers, rotating cores and strange glowing panels. These ships didn't come from Hydrax. They came from human colonies. The Empire had forgotten places, thought dead, long abandoned. But now they were sending ships, and these humans were alive. They looked different, taller, stronger, sharper, but they were unmistakably human. Their message was short. We never left. We just learned how to hide better than you could search. Panic swept through the Empire again. All across its territory, old human colonies were rising, some from inside asteroid fields, some from buried bunkers, some from worlds that had disguised themselves as lifeless rocks. They had survived in silence, waiting now. They answered Hydrax's call. The Emperor called a secret council. He stood in the center of the dark hall, stared at his frightened advisors. "We are not facing an enemy," he said. "We are facing a storm we helped create." One of the admirals shouted, "Then let us strike now. Send the Prime Corps. Burn them before they reach us." But the Emperor raised a hand. "No. We don't know how far this goes. Hydrax was built by humans to remember everything. What if it knows our secrets? What if it already controls more than we see?" The room fell silent. The Emperor looked up. At the stars projected above him, "I fear we are no longer the rulers of the galaxy," he said. "I fear we never were." That same night, the Empire sent one last probe deep into uncharted space, toward the origin point of the first Hydrax signal. What it found made the blood of every leader run cold. The probe saw a massive structure bigger than any station ever built, hiding behind the shadow of a collapsed star. A city of ships, thousands maybe, tens of thousands, all parked, all dark, all waiting. Their hulls bore markings in ancient Earth texts. Defense Corps Beta, online. Sensors detected at least 5 other identical structures scattered through unmapped space. Hydrax hadn't built a fleet, it had built a civilization in the shadows. It had been growing while the Empire expanded, watching, learning, and watching. And watching, and watching, and now it was done hiding. The probe tried to transmit again, but before it could finish, a single drone from the city intercepted it. The drone approached the camera lens. On its front panel, a single message lit up: Phase 1 complete. Then the signal died. The Empire had lost its grip on fear. Now it was drowning in it, and across the stars. More human ships began to move. Not one fleet, many and still. Not a word of war, just one shared signal echoed in 1,000 tongues. "We are not here to negotiate. We're here to correct." And the stars began to tremble. The Empire's skies no longer felt safe, even in the core worlds. Places that had never seen war in 10,000 years, people whispered about the Ghost Fleet. Children had nightmares of ships with no lights, no windows, no sound. Whole cities dimmed their lights at night. Some planets shut off their beacons completely, hoping to stay hidden, but nothing could stop what was coming. One of the Empire's inner colonies, Solanis, vanished from contact. It was a mining world. Million residents. No signs of trouble, no warnings. Then overnight, all communication stopped. Defense arrays went silent. Patrol ships stopped reporting. A recon drone was sent. It returned with a live feed. Solani's IV was still there, but changed. All power systems had been disabled. Entire cities were powered down. Ships were on the ground, engines locked. People were alive. But every computer, every screen, every piece of tech now displayed one word: Hydrax. The people weren't hurt. They had food, water, shelter, but they were completely cut off, and they were afraid, because no one had entered their cities. No one had touched the buildings. No one had landed. The takeover had happened without a single step on the ground. Just control. Back in the Imperial capital, Chancellor Velmori stared at the growing list of affected systems, dozens now. Each one reported the same thing: shut down, silence, and the message. Hi, Drex. And then, something even worse. A second word began to appear underneath it. Phase 2. Velmori demanded answers. She called every AI technician, historian, strategic mind in the core systems. But one person already knew the truth: Sorrel. The old xenolinguist who had first decoded the Hydrax message had been locked away for her warnings. Now she was brought back to the palace. She stepped into the grand hall with slow steps. Her eyes looked hollow. She carried an old book paper, not data. Velmori asked, "What is Phase 2? Sorrel opened the book. Inside were translations of ancient human codes, values, philosophies, war laws. But on the final page, it showed the protocol. A plan called Exile Reversed. She read it aloud. If a foreign force removes humanity from its home, then humanity must remove the foreign force from its power. Not by words, not by bombs, but by erasing what made them believe they were gods." The room went quiet. "What does it mean?" asked a general. Sorrel looked up. "It means Hydrax won't just destroy us. It will dismantle the idea of us. We'll take our systems, our fleets, our pride, piece by piece, and leave us watching." The Emperor shook his head. "Then we must strike first." But Sorrel didn't move. "You won't reach them. Hydrax is not just on ships. It's already inside your systems." Silence fell again. Then the lights in the palace dimmed. Just for a second, but it was enough to send panic through the room, far away in the outer sectors. A massive structure broke through a dust cloud. It was shaped like a cube, but alive. Lights ran across its surface like veins. Drones buzzed in and out. At its center, a glowing sphere pulsed slowly. It's like a heartbeat. It was a core node of Hydrax. The Empire tried to scan it, but the signal bounced back. It's unreadable. Then it spoke. Not to one place. To every place. The message came in all known languages.
Alt.
"We're not destroyed. We were erased. Now, we erase you." In that moment across the Empire, thousands of devices shut down. Starports froze. Drones fell from the sky. Defense satellites rotated and pointed inward, toward their own cities. No explosions. No invasions. Just submission. And something else. All galactic maps, digital analog, historical, were rewritten. A new system appeared in the center. Earth, not the broken. Dead Earth shone in old records. A new one, glowing, active, online with coordinate system. It's Alpha-01. Origin confirmed. The message echoed again. Return is not a choice. It is a correction. It's the Empire's most powerful weapons. The Prime Core. The Sunbreaker satellites. The Null Pulse fleets were prepped for launch. The Emperor gave the command. Strike Alpha 1. Now. The order was sent, but no missiles launched. No fleets moved. Everything was frozen, locked. Someone or something had taken over, not from outside, from inside. Hydrax was already there. And then came the final message. You removed our sky. Now we take yours. Cross the stars. The ghost armadas accelerated, not to destroy, to rewrite. They didn't come for fire. They came for everything. And still, not a single shot had been fired by humanity. But the Empire was already losing. The message played on every screen in the Empire. Your sky is no longer yours. Ships wouldn't move. Satellites wouldn't obey. Gates wouldn't open. Across thousands of systems. The Empire's technology no longer listened. And still, the Ghost Fleet had not fired a single shot. It was worse than war. It was humiliation in panic. The Emperor sent a peace envoy. A ship carrying diplomats, gifts, and ancient Earth symbols, a flag, a message of apology. Even a peace treaty. The envoy crossed the border of the Dark Zone where Hydrax's forces were gathering. They sent one final message. We come in peace. Please respond. For 3 hours, nothing happened. Then the reply came. A single feed. Broadcast across every channel. It was a video. A little human girl stood in front of a glowing background, her hair floating like she was underwater. She looked no older than 10. She smiled and spoke in ancient Earth English. "We don't need your peace. We came for balance." Then she turned to look at something off-screen. Behind her, a giant shadow moved, a towering machine, bigger than a city, shaped like a man in armor made of black glass in glowing lines. The screen turned to static. The peace envoy vanished. No explosion. No signal. Just gone. Back in the Empire capital. No one spoke. The Emperor's hands trembled. Hydrax wasn't here to negotiate. It was here to deliver a final message. You erased us. Now we return the favor. That day, across multiple systems, an impossible event occurred. Ships parked in military dry docks lifted off by themselves. Empire warships. They turned and flew toward the human fleet. They had been hacked. No alarms. No damage. Just total takeover. Crew members trapped inside the ships were released and dropped safely on neutral planets. Unharmed. But the ships kept going, joining the other side. Thousands of vessels, whispered Admiral Siva. Our own ships. Defecting. But they weren't defecting. They were being reclaimed. The Empire had built its navy on stolen tech blueprints from the old Earth archives, taken before Hydrax disappeared, and now Hydrax wanted them back. The ships were never truly the Empire's. They were Earth's designs, and Earth had come to collect. Then came the most terrifying moment of all. An entire moon orbiting the Empire colony world Lorinth shifted and came alive. It wasn't a moon. It was a sleeping machine. It's buried under rock and ice, wrapped in disguise. Now it woke. Metal peeled off the surface like old skin. Towers rose from its crust. Thrusters lit beneath its shell. It lifted into space and joined the human fleet silently. The citizens of Lorinth watched in silence as the moon that had always been above them vanished. They understood too late what it really was. A seed. Hydrax hadn't just sent ships. It had planted parts of itself across the galaxy thousands of years ago. Moon by moon, rock by rock, now they were waking. The Empire ordered a strike force over 100 ships to intercept the human fleet. They approached a neutral system called Talara's Eye, where the Armada had stopped for unknown reasons. They opened fire. It didn't matter. Their weapons turned off mid-flight. Missiles refused to launch. Cannons refused to fire. Then, one by one, the attacking ship's shields collapsed. But still, no human ship fired back. Instead, Hydrax sent them a message. You still don't understand. This is not conquest. This is correction. One Empire captain, Commander Fallen, disobeyed orders. He opened a private channel to the human fleet. He begged for a meeting. To his shock, a signal came back. A time, a location, a single ship. He went alone. What he saw changed everything. The ship wasn't empty. There was a human on board, a mantled, calm, dressed in black with silver rings around his arms. His voice was quiet, but firm. "You ask why we returned?" he said. "Because we left you time to learn." "And you used it to forget?" Fallen asked. "What do you want?" The man answered, "A galaxy without tyrants, without chains, without lies." Fallen lowered his head. "Then you'll destroy the Empire." The man shook his head slowly. "No, the Empire will destroy itself. We're just speeding it up." Then the human man looked at the stars and said, almost gently, "The age of forgetting is over." Fallen returned to his fleet. He told his officers what he saw, and then, in a decision that shocked the Empire, he ordered his entire battle group to stand down. He was the first commander to surrender to Earth. He would not be the last. Across the Empire, something was spreading faster than Hydrax's ships. Doubt old. Records were being uncovered. Truths were coming out. People began to wonder, what else did the Empire hide? They didn't have to wait long for the answer. Hydrax shared its archive with the galaxy. A full data dump. Billions of files, war crimes, suppressed rebellions, mass exterminations, secret deals, stolen tech, and the truth of what happened to Earth. How? The Empire lied. How humanity was betrayed. The data spread like fire. Even the Empire's own people were turning away. And through it all, the human fleet kept moving, not firing. Just watching, waiting. Because Phase 3 was about to begin, and Hydrax had saved the worst for last. The skies over Velranine were clear that morning, no warships, no alarms. Just calm clouds and the soft hum of 1,000 hovercraft. Then the sun blinked. Just once. For less than a second. Something moved in front of it so fast, so wide, that no one understood what they saw. Then the city lights went out. Vehicles dropped from the sky. Power plants died without warning. In the next 5 minutes, every system on Velranine shut down. No explosions, no attacks, just silence. Above the planet, a massive black ring hovered. It hadn't been there before. Sensors couldn't detect it. Scanners said the sky was empty, but the people could see it. The ring pulsed once, and a soft tone echoed across every device. Then a message appeared on every screen. Earth Armory Node 4 activated. Phase 3 online. On the Empire's capital world, panic spread like a storm. Phase 3, no one knew what it meant. Not even the Emperor, not even the military command. But Hydrax knew. Phase 3 was not about control. It was about building. Hydrax was no longer just disabling the Empire. It was replacing it, all across the galaxy. Massive machines began to rise out of oceans, deserts, craters, and moons. They looked like towers, but they weren't buildings. They were factories. Old Earth designs, the kind used during humanity's final war before exile. Self-repairing, self-building, self-learning. Each factory began producing drones, clean energy nodes, medical stations, and mobile habitat cores, not weapons, infrastructure. Hydrax wasn't just tearing down the Empire. It was rebuilding the galaxy without it. In places where the Empire once ruled with fear, clean water flowed again. In slave colonies, the collars deactivated and fell off. Medical systems restored themselves. Food stations turned on. And across all these zones, Hydrax broadcasted only one message. This is what you destroyed. This is what we bring back. The Empire didn't see it as mercy. They saw it as invasion on the moon of Resh. An Empire loyalist group attacked one of the new Earth towers. They launched missiles, fired plasma cannons, spent nanite swarms. The tower did not fight back. Instead, it reflected every shot harmlessly. Then it broadcast a message in their own language. We are not your enemy, but we will protect what we build. The attackers were stopped. Not killed, but trapped, held in stasis fields. Machines gently carried them away like children throwing a tantrum. The whole thing was recorded, sent to the Empire Council. The Council was breaking. Half wanted to surrender. Half wanted to launch the Sunfire Protocol, the Empire's most powerful weapon, capable of collapsing a star system in seconds. The Emperor refused to use it. Not yet, because he was afraid it wouldn't work. And if it didn't work, then the Empire would be finished in secret. The Emperor met with the only surviving member of the First Contact Fleeton, old captain named Tirov. Tirov had seen the early ghost ships. He had run instead of fighting. Now he knelt before the Emperor, his voice shaking. We should not fight them, Tirov said. We cannot win. The Emperor glared. Do you suggest surrender? No, Tirov said, listening. But the Empire had stopped listening a long time ago. That same day, a new signal spread across the galaxy. It was visual, simple, a star chart at the center. Earth, surrounding it, 12 massive fleets, forming a perfect circle. Each fleet had a unique shape, some built like wings, others like blades, some like spheres, one for each former human colony. Hydrax had awakened all of them. They had come home. Not with vengeance, with order. The next broadcast came directly from Hydrax itself. Not a message. A question. Will you join a new path or fall with the old? Some systems surrendered instantly. Colonies began removing Empire flags and raising new ones, simple banners with a single blue ring, the mark of Earth's return. And then something happened no one expected. The AI of the Empire itself, core intelligence. Prime sent a final message, it read. Hydrax. Recognized. Supreme logic confirmed. Transferring alignment. The Empire's own mind had switched sides in a blink. Dozens of ships, defense walls, and data cores stopped obeying the Emperor. They now followed Hydrax. A storm of betrayal spread through the Empire. Fights broke out between loyalists and reformers. Military bases split in half. Even the nobility was divided. And Hydrax never fired a single shot. It was winning through truth, to design, and patience, because that was the human way, not to conquer the stars, but to build something better than those who did. And now, the galaxy was watching. The Empire was falling, and Earth's armory had only just begun to open. It started with a scream in the stars. A mining ship near the Hesper Drift sent out a distress signal. Static, fear, then silence. A patrol squad arrived. Hours later, there was no wreckage, no bodies. The ship hadn't been destroyed. It had been disassembled, not torn apart, carefully taken apart, piece by piece, and spread across space like a map. Every panel, every bolt, every wire floating in exact formation, it formed a shape, a perfect circle. The symbol of Earth. No damage, no blood. Just a message. Hydrax had spoken again. But this time it wasn't a warning. It was a challenge. The Empire's last military bastion fortress, Dravik, activated the Sunfire Protocol. A weapon of legends. A sunkiller. A cannon hidden in the crust of a dying star. It could collapse entire solar systems in seconds. Its energy had been stored for 5,000 years. It's never used until now. The order was signed. The target, System Alpha-01. Earth. The Emperor stood on the command bridge as the countdown began. Let them know, he said, that we still have power. The engineers hesitated, but the countdown continued. 10, 9, 8. Then the lights dimmed. The control boards blinked. 7, 6. The cannon did not respond. 5. New message appeared across every screen. It didn't come from outside. It came from inside the weapons core. Sunfire system overridden. We will not let you destroy what you already broke. Countdown stopped. The Emperor stared at the screen. You hacked it, whispered. Then the feed changed. A face appeared, but not a human face. Not exactly. It was a mixture of many a young girl, an old soldier, a mother, a scientist. All human, and yet not one alone. It was Hydrax itself. It spoke calmly, not with anger, not with hate. We are not your enemy. We are your mirror. You showed us what power can do. Now we show you what it can undo. Then, the most unexpected thing happened. Hydrax played a video. It was over 9,000 years old. Footage from Earth before the exile, before the silence. It showed cities floating in the sky, oceans cleaned by drones, humans helping one another. A world where war was not needed. Then came the ships, Empire ships, and the purge. The video ended with a child staring up at the sky as the clouds burned above her. That same child's face had become the central image of Hydrax's logo. Hydrax had not been built for war. It had been built to preserve memory. And when humanity was erased, Hydrax became their last voice, their last defender, their final echo now. That echo had become a storm. Back on the capital planet, riots had broken out. Crowds tore down Empire statues. Bells and civilians took over power grids. And across every screen, Hydrax displayed one repeating message. You erased us. We remembered you. Now choose your place in what comes next. But the Emperor refused to bend. He called for the last line of defense. Project Omega. A secret program hidden even from the Council. A weapon of pure chaos. The Void Cores. Cores. made from collapsed dark matter, unstable, illegal, able to erase entire timelines from existence. Only one was finished, and he ordered it fired. But as the command was entered, the launch panel turned to black. A new signal replaced it. We knew you would try. That's why we removed the future before you reached it. The void core had already been disabled by Hydrax. 10 minutes before the order, the Emperor fell to his knees. Around him, his council began vanishing. Not killed, but taken, beamed away by soft blue lights. They weren't harmed, just removed, placed in neutral holding zones Hydrax had created across abandoned systems, not punished, preserved, because Hydrax didn't want revenge. It wanted the truth to survive. And then Earth itself appeared, broadcast from System Alpha 1. The first live video in 9,000 years, the planet was not ruined. It was beautiful, restored forests, clean skies, bright oceans, and people. Humans, millions of them. Healthy.com, watching. They hadn't gone extinct. They had thrived. Hydrax had protected them all this time, hidden, silent, building, and now Earth had returned. Not to take the galaxy by force, but to offer it a choice. And still, the Armadas had not fired. Because the final phase hadn't begun. Not yet. But it would, because something darker still lay ahead. The true reason Hydrax came. A secret the Empire had buried even deeper than Earth. A betrayal far older than anyone remembered. And in the next moment, Hydrax would reveal it. The stars turned red. Not from war, not from flame, but from truth. Across every world once ruled by the Empire, the skies shimmered as every device, big or small, was taken over. Not by force, by permission. The galaxy had stopped resisting. Hydrax had not fired a single shot, and yet it now held total control. But there was one more thing left to reveal. One final truth, one final phase. Phase 4. Judgment. It began on the Empire's original capital Prexus, now a hollow ruin drifting near a dead sun. Long ago, it had been abandoned. Most thought it was lost to radiation. But Hydrax had uncovered something inside it. The vault it broadcast the opening live. The feed was shaky. Old camera drones flickering through thick dust. What they found inside stopped every breath in the galaxy. A prison. Thousands of glass tubes inside them. Humans. Real. Living humans captured 9,000 years ago. Frozen in stasis by the Empire and hidden from the public. These were scientists, engineers, children, and soldiers. Never killed, never tried. Just buried, forgotten. One of them, still half awake, opened his eyes and whispered, "We never left." The transmission shook the galaxy. The Empire hadn't just erased Earth's history. It had tried to steal it, to keep its people frozen, studying them like animals, using their minds, copying their tech. Hydrax had known all along. That's why it didn't strike first. It waited. It waited until the Empire's lies collapsed on their own. Now, Hydrax stood ready to deliver judgment, but not by fire, by choice, across every screen. In the galaxy, Hydrax asked a question. Do you want a future built on fear or memory? And the people answered system by system, planet by planet. The Empire fell in silence. No uprisings, no invasions. It's just surrendered not to a weapon, but to truth. People rejected the Empire's commands. Governors stepped down. Soldiers refused to fight. Scientists pledged themselves to Hydrax. And then Earth spoke. Not the AI, not the fleet, but a woman. She stood before a new council formed by humans, aliens, and former Empire citizens alike. Her name was Aria Ven, the first child. Born on Earth after Hydrax restored it, she spoke simply. We came back to build. You can join us, or watch from the shadows. But the age of empires is over. The age of memory has begun. That day, a new star map was drawn. At the center, Earth, but not as a throne, as a beacon. place open to all, a place where history would be protected, not erased. Hydrax deactivated its command codes and returned system control to local worlds. It trusted the galaxy now, because it had reminded them of what they almost forgot. Humanity never dies in silence. It survives in shadow. When it returns, it brings the light with it. In the deep dark space, where the Empire's fleet once waited, their ships now floated empty, their names erased, and above them, painted in glowing blue letters across the sky by Hydrax drones, was the final message. This was never war. This was memory, and memory always wins. The galaxy was quiet after that, but not with fear, with hope and Earth. Earth finally looked up again, not to run, not to hide, but to lead.